Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. Real Estate Coaching Radio is the nation's #1 daily radio show for realtors who demand authentic, real-time coaching. Get ready for fluff-free, unfiltered, full-strength honesty about what's truly working to get you into action, helping others, and making money now in today's real estate market. Now to our hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Okay, we are back, and I have to say I'm quite excited to introduce all of you to Justin Gonzalez, who's located in lovely Austin, Texas. Justin, welcome. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to meet you, and I really appreciate you being my co-host for today's podcast.
For sure. I'm glad to be here.
You and I were just talking about a lot of different things prior to today's podcast, and I'm really interested to share with the listeners what you're doing to build such a kick-ass business with your wife, focusing primarily on centers of influence and past clients. But before we get to all of that, and listeners, Justin has agreed to give us the real drill-down specifics of what exactly he's doing, what exactly he's saying, how frequently he's doing it, so you guys better be ready to take great notes. So Justin, before we get into that, can you give them a little bit of background on who you are, where you're from, just let them know that, you know, everything you think to share. And by the way, guys, Justin's clearing his voice because he lives in Austin, Texas, and this time of year there's really bad allergies, so you're just going to have to put up with it.
I'm actually coming off of a 7-day cold hiatus or something. I don't know what I had, but never had it until this year.
So we live just north of Austin, Texas. No worries. We just live north of Austin, Texas. My wife, who's always had allergies, never had bad allergies. We move here without really having researched what the allergies are. And while here, Julie's developed asthma, and she's on 5 different inhalers and allergy shots. And it turns out Austin, Texas is the second worst place in the nation for allergies. So if you never had allergies before in your life, listeners, and you want to develop them, move to Austin, Texas. We got you covered.
Move to Austin, Texas. Exactly.
That's right. Well, so Justin, let them know about you.
Yeah, so, gosh, let's see. My elevator speech. Well, I got licensed in 2005. I was working with a small brokerage at the time, and I had some life changes after that in around 2009, 2010, where I got a divorce, and my ex-wife at the time was in the business, and she was with a company that was paying her to do contract to close. And so I said, hey, you stay here, let me go look for another brokerage. Around that time, I was looking to see, you know, who was out there, what was going on, and I got invited to a mega camp, and it was kind of crazy because I lived in Austin since 1993 and been in the business since 2005 or so, and I never really knew much about Keller Williams, and I know that they, after that, found out that they started in Austin. And anyways, I did a transaction with a girl named Carly, who's actually my wife now. But she invited me to mega camp. She at the time they were saying, hey, if you invite 10 cappers or whatever to this conference, then you'll get your conference paid for. And she was like, great, just let me do the numbers and I'll invite 20 people. Well, I ended up being the only one who showed up at the time, which I guess it's lucky for me. If some other guy would have showed up, maybe he'd be Mrs. Carly Gonzalez, who knows. But anyway, I ended up joining Keller Williams in 2010, and we started a team at that point, and about a year later we got engaged, and a year after that in 2012 we got married. But we've got a blended family. We've got 5 kids between us from the ages of 21 to 11, and so we worked really hard on blending our family at the time and creating a business. And when we started together, it was rough, and so we just started doing lots of different, like everybody else, you just drink the fire hose water and try to make something stick. But what we found out once we got moving was that open houses at the time were our thing, and a sphere of influence. So we did some things, and I'll get into that later. But as we went on, my wife and I grew our business just between the two of us. We've never hired team members. We have a contract to close that we actually just pay per file, and we've been doing that for about 8 years. And we typically close between $20 to $25 million a year. And we have 5 kids who go to 5 different schools and 40 miles apart, and, you know, all that. So in some of the chaos, we've learned how to build this business and take care of our clients and have a good time selling real estate. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
the short
I mean,
of it, I guess.
Making $750,000 to $900,000 a year isn't a bad lifestyle in Austin, Texas, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So,
it's not
so
bad.
What part,
it's not bad.
So what part of Austin, Texas do you guys primarily focus on? So, I mean, Austin's, it's huge. So they know where to send referrals to.
Well, we started, because we are referral-based, we go where the referrals go. We know Austin very well. Initially, when we first started our team, we were down in South Austin, so we worked like the Circle C, Southwest Austin area, and we still do that quite frequently. But about 3 years ago, we moved up north to a little tiny town called Pflugerville, or Pville is what people call around here. And we live over in a neighborhood called Blackhawk, which is in Falcon Point, which is a master plan community, and it's growing like crazy over here in Hutto and Pflugerville. And so that's primarily where we're trying to stay, super hyper-local, but still, we have listings in Georgetown. We have one in Buda right now. We've got 6 different listings that are spread out through the city. But we're really trying to, if you want to send a referral to a place that we really, really are focusing on right now, we would love referrals in the Pflugerville, Hutto area, Round Rock.
And what's your cell phone number?
512-663-3964.
Oh, dude, you did not just give your cell phone number to 25,000 people. You're crazy. I would never have done that.
I did.
Okay.
Call me now. Send me all of your referrals. I'm not too busy.
No, you know what? I give my cell phone number out and on this podcast, and I have to say, people do not abuse it. And, they'll send me texts, and they'll say what they did or didn't like or suggestions for a podcast, but we've got very respectful listeners. Now, you said something a second ago, and I really liked it. And I don't know if you meant to really drill down on this, but I'm going to drill down on it anyway. I love the fact that you guys are doing the volume you're doing, and you essentially have a very small, like, virtual staff, because that tells me that you guys have killer gross to net. In other words, you guys are not making the typical shitty net that most teams make or even brokers make. And listeners, if you've not been listening to us for a long time, most brokers are, the old joke is, if you want to become a broker, and that's never been more true. Most brokers are happy to make 3%. Guys, that's 3% net profit before taxes, before personal expenses. And now the average broker is making less than 2%. It's just terrible. And the average team, you'll hear different things, but the average team is making 10% or less. So the reality of it is that the most profitable thing in business, in real estate, is to do it the way Justin and his wife are doing it, the way we coach you guys to do it. So you guys have a small staff. Weren't you? Dude, you're in the eye of Modor with regards to teams because Keller Williams here. How have you resisted the ego urge to build a team?
Oh my gosh, that could take up the whole podcast. But
it's a good topic, bro.
It was always crammed down our throat, especially because of the production we would do, and then we were involved with the Agent Leadership Council at Southwest Market Center for 8 years. So it was always bigger, badder, faster, whatever, drink it. And we resisted the whole time.
Why?
We would run because we ran the numbers and it didn't make sense. And, as you're building a team, you drop down this valley. And it's very rare that most people can climb back up that hill and financially make it out of there. And because we are around such great producing team agents, when we would sit down with them face to face and we're like, okay, it's just us, right? Nobody's around. What's the real story here? And it's like, oh my God, I've got, people are leaving me like crazy, and then, I can't get, this and that, and we're struggling, we're paying for this, and yeah. And so every time we would meet with somebody who we respected, and they were doing their thing really well from the outside, but personally we were like, look, the best thing we ever did was get married and keep it all in the same house. We always joke about, hey, if you really want to become profitable, either, if you're single, go find somebody, put them in the business with you, or get your spouse out of whatever they're doing and move forward, if you can work together. But we've had the benefit of being
let's level off there, bro, because you just said something so powerful. These listeners really need to hear it, because people are to this day not listening to that message. And we have people on the I'll tell you, so you have these private conversations because you're in a leadership role within Keller Williams. Julie and I have, and I'm talking when I'm talking to these people, I'm talking to people who are doing 60, 80, $120 million of sales a year, and we're sitting there having dinner together and talking heart to heart
about like if you could do it over again or what's going on, what would you do? And I feel like once you start that animal, it's hard to cut it off.
Okay, so two questions. Just level off there.
Yeah.
Level off there. So why do they do it in the first place? In your honest opinion, okay, and why do they keep doing it after they know that they're literally making no profit? Those two questions. Why do they start doing it? Why do they keep doing it?
Well, from my experience, because of the people I was surrounded by, I can only speak there, is that
Sure.
because they're sold to do it. It's like, hey, to achieve any kind of, if you're successful, which these agents are, it's like if you're really wanting to step out of your business and, be a business owner, this is what the model that you have to build, and this is how you do it. And I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but it's very far and few between that I've met agents over the year that actually make it work. And even if they do, though, when I look at those numbers, I'm like, I've done the math, the adding and the subtracting, and looked at different things, and I'm like, well, it's great, but at the same time, I'm comfortable with where I'm at doing what I'm doing. But honestly, I really feel like.
But why do they do it? Why do they do it? Because they don't have any. Because they're caught in an echo chamber, and everyone's saying the same thing, and because they don't necessarily, and they don't necessarily have. Yes.
I would say they're doing it because I don't want to offend anybody, but honestly, we've met with so many people who don't really understand numbers and how to really run a profitable business. And so when we would talk to them, we were like, hey, did anybody ever sit down with you with, a net sheet and looking at this and these costs and this? Did you guys ever run these types of numbers and what it would take for you to get to X amount at a certain time? And they're like, nope. We were just told, if we were producing this, then we bring on this person and put that person in here. I was like, but what did the numbers say to you at that point? And they're like, we never thought of that. It was just about like where we were at transactionally. And to us, that just never made sense. And so every time people would come to us, they're like, oh, you guys, when we hit 15 million, this is what you've got to bring on this person now. When we hit 20 million, you got to bring on this person. And every time we kept running the numbers for ourselves and what we were doing, even though, people were like, you must be going crazy. And we were like, you know what, it is busy, but it's not something that we can't handle. And we just stayed how we were. We stayed very lean and very profitable, and that's how we liked it.
There's two thoughts with that. Thank you for telling the truth. Okay, honestly, that's impressive because most people lie about it. But you just said something else too, and you said not trying to offend somebody. I don't worry about that because our podcast listeners, sometimes you have to offend people to get their attention, right? The fact is that most people get into real estate. And look, present company included with myself, obviously not with you.
Yeah.
I just had Julie show me how to use Pages with Google Mail yesterday. Okay, I mean I'm not what one would call a spreadsheet guy. So I'm as guilty as this as anybody. But Julie and I've been in this industry for going on 3 decades, which is shocking for me to say out loud. When I got into this business, I was ignorant as how anybody was possibly at managing money. So with that said, most people get into this business and they have no business background, they have no business sense, and they are stuck in these broker paradigms, and Keller Williams, and there's others now too, and our primary competitors as coaches, they're all telling you guys this because it benefits them primarily, not because it's what's best for you. And I want you to think about this because it's very simple. If I'm a broker and I can get you to basically, if I can coerce you into forming a team, then I'm going to get you to not just pay for coaching and training to hire your team members, but I'm also going to get you to do the shittiest job within a brokerage, which is recruiting other agents. So if you start producing as an individual agent, and then I say, listen, for you to be successful in our world, you have to now add this team member and this team member and this team member, and you're like, okay, if that's what I'm supposed to do, because you don't stop to say, well, hold on now, my job is to make a profit. One of the things we teach our coaching clients is the product in your real estate business is profit. The profit is how you gauge your success in this business. Not the homes sold, not the volume, not the plaques on the wall, not your fancy titles. It's the profit. And that's
now
how
you're
people
speaking
think.
my language.
Yeah, brother.
I love it.
Well, but
I'm like, people would come to me and they'd be like, oh, we sold 100 homes this year. I'm like, great. You had 20 agents sell 100 homes. How much money did you make running all of that? And they would be like, oh, I made $65,000 this year. I was like, great. How long can you keep that up before you whatever, you pick it, get a divorce, have to start taking medication, whatever it is.
Now.
Like how long?
But here's the argument. Here's what they'll say. Well, hold on now. I don't have to work with buyers and sellers anymore. I have my staff doing it. I can leverage my time, and I can sit on a beach and pink lid on my lint out of my belly button. No, it doesn't work that way.
No.
All you're doing is basically. Go ahead.
Sorry, I've met you. I can tell you right now, in my world, I've met all of those top agents that you would think that they're sitting somewhere on the beach drinking lemonade and reading books or doing whatever. None of them do it. If they're not busy doing what we do as agents, not working with buyers and sellers, they're busy doing something else, which is a part of, they're managing their team of 20 people or 15 people or whatever, but they're not sitting around doing nothing. I can guarantee you that.
That's right. And so, look, guys, the bottom line is, I didn't even know this about you.
There's no easy button.
No, there's no easy button. But the lie, and it is a lie, that you can basically, the team thing is a lie, listeners. The number of people, and Justin said it, I've heard, so Sean Kokoska is a very good friend of mine. And Sean Kokoska is somebody who coaches people on how to basically scale their real estate practice, i.e. build teams. I was on a call with Sean the other day, and he said that 94% of all teams fail. And then he basically rattled off all the reasons why they fail. I think his statistic is right. I think he's true. I think what he was telling is probably the truth. But here's the thing. I think
it would be a little higher.
Maybe, but frankly,
I would say maybe
Sean.
98%. But sure.
Sean's a good friend of mine, so I'm not going to argue with him.
Oh yeah.
But the reality of it is what does succeed mean? So what does the definition of success mean? So when he said the team succeeded, what did that mean? They stayed in business for 2 or 3 years. This is the reason it always goes back, listeners. And it's cool, Justin, you and I are talking about this because it wasn't even on our list. The reality of it is that if you really, guys, what we just said is the truth. The way you benchmark your success is not by anything other than the amount of profit you make. Oh, hold on, Tim. Profit, dirty word. I'm voting for Bernie in 2020. I get it. But here's the thing. You're not going to be successful. The profit is the litmus test of your ability to help people. And if you're not helping people accomplish their goals, exactly, that's it. So there's no, if you are somebody who ruffles their feathers at the idea of being money focused, I get it, but just open your mind to what I'm saying. There's a direct correlation between the number of people you help at a high level and the amount of money and profit you make. So if you don't have a lot of money and profit, it's because you're not helping a lot of people. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the whole equation. That's how, if you want to understand why some people have more, it's because they're helping more people at a high level. Does that resonate with you, Justin?
Oh, for sure.
Well, how did you come to this way of thinking? I feel like I'm preaching to the choir talking to you, but how did you come to this way of thinking?
Well, no, I feel like I've been like this my whole life. I've always looked at things and I've always wanted to know how they work. I've traveled a lot growing up. I went to 17 different schools, 5 different high schools. I lived in Asia and Europe and saw a lot of different cultures, and I became fascinated with, not the shine of things, but what's behind it. And I don't know where I specifically learned that from. So when I got into the real estate business, my most important goal was always how to stay profitable, because to me, profitability is longevity. And I have this thing with mafia movies where these guys rise to power and they're on top of the world, and then all of a sudden they make these mistakes and they're, of course they're doing, illegal things, but they're in jail or they die or whatever. And I was like, how does somebody stay up there? How does somebody stay the number 1, number 2 person for such a long time? And to me, after I started talking to a lot of successful people that were doing it right, their number 1 answer at the end of the day, after they were talking and saying a lot of different things, was profitability. And then I started looking at, well, how were they profitable? And it was really because they were running a lean team. It was either them and their spouse, or them and somebody else, and it was never this mega stuff. And I just saw the failures over and over again, and I said, you know what, I'm never going to go down that road. I don't. And but what the crazy thing is it's so shiny. It is so easy to chase that, and you get 2 to 3 years into it, and then you turn around and you look at what what have I really accomplished? I hired 15 people, and now I still only have 2, or whatever.
Well,
so
let's level off there. Let's level off there, because here's the thing that podcast listeners, you guys got to understand. Where you're going to discover, we're telling you now to be okay with stop doing what you're doing, and if it's not working. There's a difference between quitting, listeners, and quitting while you're ahead. Yeah. But the problem is if you wait too long and you wait for the market to change, and then you're stuck with all this overhead, are you able to financially support your business and personal life for 6 months? Because you're not, you're not, and what's going to happen is you're going to be personally and professionally wiped out, and your ego is not going to let you basically reverse direction, and then you're going to, look guys, I don't want to paint this horrible dark cloud, but back in 07 and 08, this is what happened. Yeah. And we saw the devastation that happened with individual agents and their families and brokerages. And guys, it doesn't take a long-term shitty market like we had before. It can be 30 days, 90 days. Interest rates go up. There's some freaking thing that happens out in Iran, and people freak out, and whatever. And then all of a sudden the market stalls out for 6 months, and you have all these hungry, angry, pissed-off buyers agents that are asking for their leads, and Zillow changes. All this crap happens. You're out. You're wiped out. It's stupid, guys. It just doesn't make sense to run your business that way if you're not based. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to say, and I want you to listen to me. Your team is not working, not because you're defective. You're not doing anything wrong. Okay? You're not a bad leader. You don't need to take more classes. You don't need to learn more about managing people. You do not need to work on your culture or your brand or your logo or your website. That's not the problem. The problem is you're following a shitty business model. That's it. Exactly. So give yourself permission to go in a different direction so you can focus on profitability.
I think you could just drop the phone right there. Yeah.
But isn't that the truth, though? Have you ever heard anybody say it like that? Have you ever heard of anyone say it like that? Yeah,
not really, because it is the truth, but it's not shiny, So.
Yeah. Well, the truth is that it's also saying this, which we say on our podcast every day. This is where everybody's going towards. I've heard other people like you that are willing to tell the truth about it. But here's what's fascinating too: it is teams in particular have become like a cult or a religion. And when you start talking out against them, people want to hold you out as a heretic and see if test to see if you're a witch. I mean, that's what happens.
Exactly. No, you're right.
Anyway, all right. I think we covered that.
Yeah, I think so. You guys get it, guys, right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's fun to talk about, though. So if let's pivot. You said something else a second ago that I really appreciated. Why did you said profit, you said you had a global perspective. I could tell you and your wife have a lot of, I have a sense about you that you guys have a long list of things you want to do with your lives, travel, things like that. Yeah. What is it? So, what drives you? I'm not asking what your one thing is, because there's never one thing. It really, in all reality, there isn't. But what is it in all reality what's driving you to continue to make sure you're staying online and not chasing the shiny thing and you're going for a profitable business? How do you do that? How do you keep yourself on track?
Well, so it kind of goes back in my history. When I was around 20 years old, I lost a really close uncle of mine, and he had cancer, and fortunately and unfortunately, we were able to spend some time together before he passed away. And really at the beginning of my life, and, he was in his 30s and had a son, and he was about 10 years old, and there was just a lot of things that he was talking to me about at that point about, regrets or things that he wished he could do. But the things, not only what he should have done, or what he wanted to do, but the things, what really resonated with me were the things that he was going to miss. He was going to miss his son graduating from high school. He was going to miss his son graduating from college. He was going to miss his son getting married. He was going to miss his son, he started listing all these things. And I thought, he's talking about him and his death, but then I've watched so many people in their lives, they've missed those same things, and they've been here. They've been they've had the kids and they've gone to work and they've focused on spending time doing other things. And that became very important to me. So quickly around 20 years old, I was looking for a vehicle where I felt like I could spend, and here is my one thing. My one thing is to spend the most amount of time around the people that I love and care about. And so I was looking for a vehicle that allowed me to put myself in the driver's seat, because you hear it all the time. You're like, oh, real estate, I want to get in because I want to be my own boss and dictate my own schedule. That is true, but it's also a lie. because when you're, doing high volume and you're answering your phone and you don't, some people don't put in parameters or whatever, it can take over your life. But it did allow me the flexibility to dictate not being somewhere at a certain time every day from 9 to 5 or working, 12-hour days, the way I saw a lot of people, men and women around me at the time doing. And so I found real estate what became my vehicle. And in the amount of time, since 2005, that I've been able to spend around the people that I love and care about and really spend good time with them. I pick up my kids from school. I'm at their games because I schedule them into my life. Those are appointments. And so I try not to miss them at all. And so that brings me joy. And the more and more that I get to see my kids grow up and live their lives, it motivates me more to want to help other people achieve their goals of buying, selling, investing, or whatever it is. And so that motivates me. And that's my one thing.
Dude, that is a crazy story. That's unbelievable. And for you to have had that experience when you're that young too, that is amazing. But so how do you keep yourself on check on that, man? I mean, look, there's so many damn things that are trying to pull at your ego. How many calls have you gotten? Texts have you gotten? Hey, dude, have you done this? Facebook page. Where am I supposed to spend my money on? And all these things that agents are doing. How do you say no to all that stuff? And look, you were in the heart of Modor, like I said earlier, with regards to all the pressures to form teams. How do you stay? This is really the essence of where agents get distracted, is because they don't have the fortitude like you did because of that experience to stay true to that specific mission. How do you do it? How do you keep yourself in balance and check on that?
Well, because I say to myself when I'm looking at my day, when I'm looking at my week, when I'm looking at my month, I say, I tell myself, if you say yes to one thing, that means you're also having to say no to something else. So looking at my why, looking at, just different things, whether it's clients or my family or whatever it is, I have to always ask myself, okay, if I do this, what kind of, what man hours am I going to have to put into this? And if I say yes to this lead gen tool or this, way of style of calling people at certain times or whatever, what am I also saying no to? And then, I kind of look at them, write them down, and then, figure the things out and then move forward. And I'm not perfect at it, but these are the things that my wife and I both focus on. It's just the two of us, but every single year since 2010, we've gotten away and we've gone out somewhere and we've had a business meeting with just the two of us. And some people can say that's stupid, but it's not. It's wearing different hats and, because we're married, I have the husband hat, the friend hat, the business person hat, and we get away every year and we do our big rocks first and we put them in and we just fill in around them. And it's worked for us. We've been able to, again, life isn't perfect. I don't want to sit here and say that my life doesn't have its problems and I sometimes make the wrong choices where I say yes to something and then I ultimately say no to something else, but I don't allow too much time to go by if I'm making those consistent mistakes. And the other thing too is that we focus down every year on just doing 3 to 4 funnels to capture leads or work with our SOI. And we don't deviate from that. We do it for 12 months, and then when we meet again, we say, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what do we need to change, and then we do it from there. There's too many people who are like, I tried this for a day, I tried this for 3 days, I tried this for a week, and they're very inconsistent, hit or miss. You can't find them anywhere, or they're not building a foundation
Justin,
long enough to test.
We're going to talk about lead gen in a second, but I want to go back. You just said something. I don't even know. Do you know where the whole big rocks analogy came from? By the way, do you know who originally came up with that?
I don't, but I heard it enough. I'm sure you know. I heard it a lot as far as big rocks or.
I don't, and I know you. I can tell you're a guy of integrity too, so I'll tell you. So next time you can reference the guy who actually came up with that concept. So, back in the 90s, Julie and I were Howard Britton stars, and there was a guy that within Howard Britton that was doing a lot of personal coaching amongst the stars. His name was Dr. Fred Gross. And the analogy is, he came up with that. And the analogy is, and it's really good, is in essence that if you have a jar, and he would actually physically do this to demonstrate it.
Yeah, I saw somebody did that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they got it from Fred. They got it from Dr. Gross, and they probably didn't give him credit for it, But I mean, so you explain it. But Justin, you explain it. Go ahead and explain it so the podcast listeners can understand.
So basically, you have a cylinder. You have a glass cylinder, like a flower vase, right? And then you take these big rocks and you set them in first, and then you take smaller rocks and then you just drop them in. And what happens is they settle in around the big rocks. And then eventually I think this person took some sand and then they poured it into there. And so it was, starting with those big rocks and then pouring everything else around it. So that was the concept that I got from it, as far as looking at our week-to-week life or our month-to-month. That's what we.
And
I'm probably not doing that justice. Yeah.
Well, no, you're close. The essence of it, guys, is that the big rocks are the things that matter most to you in life. And if you've never defined what those big rocks are for you, and you heard what Justin said, his is spending time with his family. If you don't define what those big rocks are for you, and you don't essentially hold on to those things as your true north, other people will define what your big rocks are for you. That's what's happened largely in our society. People are finding themselves attracted to, like we can stick it to real estate, right? Oh, my big rock is I'm going to work on my team, or my big rock is I'm going to sell 300 houses just so I can get some, double shiny triple star diamond award this year, or whatever it is. So other people will co-op your potential, and you'll burn away years and years of your life because someone else has defined what your big rock should be for you. Whereas in all reality, we all basically, unless you're a sociopath, if we're getting to it, you're going to be motivated by the same things as everybody else is, but you'd have to define what those things are. Now, the jar where the rocks go, you have to put the big rocks in first, because what happens is all the small rocks are all the dumb things that basically we fill our days with, and those little granular pieces of sand are even the dumber things. And if you put all those things in first, there's no room for the big rocks, and then you're dead. Yeah. I mean, in essence. So that's the way to think of it. Yeah, that's a really great analogy.
I think a key word that you said, and I think a lot of people don't spend enough time doing this, is finding out what those big rocks are. They don't, somebody else's why is completely different. But I think one of the mistakes that when I meet with people, when I actually just have a real conversation, sometimes I meet with even successful agents, and it's not even about their why. It's just they don't even know why sometimes they do what they do. It's just, and most of that absorbs most of their time, and they haven't even really looked at, and it's not just profitability in a number, but profitability in your life, period. So I think really, when you're talking earlier about people starting over and not having the courage to do it, or the things that they're doing wrong, really point one, what you just said before and now, is defining those. If you don't know what those big rocks are, I would say start there first, period, and go from there. So.
Well, so how does someone figure that out?
Well, I could say how I would do it, and that's what I've told you that my wife and I have done every single year. You actually put it in your schedule, and you plan it, and you get away. Get away from your house, your business, your office. You go take some time to sit with yourself, and you go over things. You write them down, because sometimes, big rocks and you have two people. When we go out and eat, we've got to put things on a list and figure out what works for her, what works for me. We get our list together, and then we go over that. And, sometimes those rocks, maybe it's not this year. Maybe it's, hey, this is a rock for me, but let's try that next year, And so you don't discard them. You just put them to the side.
It's funny, Justin, again, we haven't talked about a single thing we said we were going to talk about, which is awesome. It's the best podcast.
I know. Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah, me too. But so Julie and I had done, so we've been married for, hold on, let me do the math. What is just 28 years this year. We got married when we were 20 and 21. For those of you who want to do the math, that makes Julie and I 48 and 49. So we have done that every single year, and we call them Harris Summits. And one of the things we learned is that, you've heard this before, but just so the podcast listeners can take what we're saying and make something practical and tactical of it. There's 5, arguably 6, but there's 5 distinct areas of life where most people will, look back upon saying these are the things that are most important to me. It's educational, it's spiritual, it's family, it's financial, and it's physical. So doing it backwards, physical, financial, spiritual, family, and educational. The 5 things are sometimes called different things. Now, podcast listeners, please listen to what I'm saying. Don't seek balance in life. That's bullshit. And I know some of you are offended that I said that. Not because I said bullshit, but because there's no such thing as balance. That's the truth. No. Because what's going to happen? There is no balance. And to seek balance puts you out of balance. But what's going to happen is, as you go through life, different things, and this is how it's supposed to work, will mean different things to you. So when you're younger, for example, maybe you're more focused on physical and financial, and then you get married, and then you're focused on different things, and you're older, maybe you focus on spiritual, those types of things. But don't worry about having, I have to spend exactly 20% of my life in each of those 5 things, so I'll have perfect balance in my life. Don't do that. It won't work. That said, When you're doing your version of the Harris Retreat or Harris Summit, what you should do is you should say, okay, I'm okay this year with us not focusing on this specific category, and maybe it's, pick one. Maybe it's, spiritual. Maybe spiritual is not going to take priority in your life this year. That's fine. You're really going to focus on physical. Okay, so what's the physical goal? All right, so you want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, great. So write that down. There's the goal. So a goal is a dream with an action plan. So you write the goal down, lose 20 pounds. Now, in order for the goal to be real, you have to have a deadline when you're going to have it accomplished by. Otherwise, you will not do it. So you're going to lose 20 pounds. And you're going to lose 20 pounds in the next 6 months. Don't give yourself a year because you know you won't do it. You'll procrastinate it and you won't do it. Okay, now what are you going to do? Then you have to have an action plan. So a goal is a dream with an action plan. It has to have a specific deadline, listeners. So you're going to say 6 months, then you're going to make the action plan. Now I'm going to give you your action plan to lose 20 pounds because it works. Here it is. Ready? I want you to join Orange Theory, go at least 3 or 4 days of the week, hate every second of it like everybody else who goes, and then go low carb. That works for everyone no matter what age you are. Study all this stuff yourself.
Get that pyramid right. I don't want
exactly.
Get your pyramid right.
But that's that's your game plan. There it is. I just gave it to you. So if you want to have some others of like, okay, we have a goal of an educational goal. Education's one you can have fun with. You want to take a cooking class in Florence, Italy. Well, that sounds awesome, right? Okay, when are you going to do it? Pick a date. Okay, where are you going to do it? Pick the place, pick the price, pick the, and then create the plan to create the revenue. That's how you actually accomplish things, and those become your big rocks. And here's a fun question. I'm going to ask you this, Justin, actually, post so I can stop pontificating. So, and then we're going to go back and talk about
lead generation. You're doing
a great job. Sorry. Okay, so I had too much coffee. So here, I have a question for you, and this is a way to kind of frame out a goal setting. It's 6 months from now. You and your brood, because you guys have a ton of kids, you're visiting Julie and I and Jean, right, in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We're sitting on the beach. And I'm going to ask you and your lovely bride, what are the things that you're most proud of having accomplished in the last 12 months? And then just choose 5 things. What will those things be?
Ooh. Wow, gosh. So number one would be we want to hit a goal of selling 52 homes in our local area, in our super hyper-local focus. They will be finishing up doing a whole year of, my wife started taking these bar classes and she wanted to do that, and then I wanted to consistently swim for health. So staying on target for that. We wanted to take, we've already got it planned, but so finishing up with the 2 trips we're going to do with the kids. That's 3 or 4? Where am I at with that? I think I have 3, right? And then, for years we've been trying to write our will. If we get our will written this year, I'll be so thankful for that. Because every time I travel, I'm like, we didn't do our will. And then what else? I think
that's depressing, bro.
Yeah. I know, right? Well, we just read about it yesterday to get some things done, but we'll figure it all out.
Let's go back to the first one though, because I want listeners to understand how you think. When you said you wanted to sell X number of houses, why specifically that number? What was the reasoning behind that specific number?
52, because we wanted to do 1 a week in our sphere. This year, one of our things that we met about last year was that we do enjoy going all over the city, but we really wanted to focus down, and so we just came up with we wanted to sell 1 home a week in our local sphere area.
Okay, that makes sense. But what specifically with that number regards to the money? Like, you didn't just say, an odd number just for the sake of the number. You actually, I'm sure, broke it down to the average commission and then, defining where the money was going to go in the individual aspects of your life. I'm sure you did that, correct?
Yes. I mean, in total we did, but yes. I mean, overall, our goal altogether was to sell 95 this year. And of the 95, we wanted 52 to come out of the 95 from our local area.
Okay, very good.
And then, and it generated a certain amount, so.
Okay, so let's move and talk about, unless you have something else you want to talk about, let's talk about lead generation. Your business is primarily based on centers of influence and past clients. and you guys have a very good drill down plan on how to go after, to create obviously $750,000 to $900,000 a year. You're obviously doing more right than wrong. So specifically, share with the listeners how you created this plan and what you do and how you proactively work that list.
So I would start with appreciation. I think we touch our clients 4 times a year, once a quarter, with client appreciation. So we've done one happy hour, and then every year in Austin, there's this place, it's called the Alamo Draft House. It's really popular, and people love to go to it with their, kids and everything. And so we rent out the movie theater. We always pick the top summer movie. We just got finished with that. It was Toy Story 4, and we sold that out 150 seats. And just get together with the families and tell them thank you. And we do, we got gift bags for the kids and some other things that we did. And then we do events at our house specifically for, and I don't know if you want me to get into, it's not just for past clients. It's about connectors and influencers, because those are people who they may not have ever bought a home with us, but they've helped us find 8 to 10 people that have sent us, leads. And so we really want to tell them thank you. So we invite them to our house, and we cater and do music and just different things. And then we have another happy hour event in the fall, and are, connected to the holidays. And so we do that consistently, and we're constantly sending out things. How do you know if someone sent you a lead?
Let's talk about that. How do you know, how do you know that someone calls you and said, I want to sell a list by whatever? How do you ask? Tell the listeners how you go about finding out how that lead came in contact with you.
We just ask them, oh, great, thank you for calling us. We really appreciate it. How did you hear about us? And then they tell us, so-and-so sent me, so-and-so sent me. And that's typically how it happens. We don't do any type of internet marketing. So for the most part, when we get leads like that, it's either from a listing call that we have. We're about 50-50. Actually, it's 60-40. So we have 60% listing market share in our business and 40% buyers. So we do get, I wouldn't say a lot, but we get sign calls, with people that we don't know. And then, either I do open houses or coming back to, referrals. And so we ask them. And at these events, though, we ask for the business as well. We tell people, we enjoy. So we have, most of the time it's through giveaways. Sometimes we'll say, okay, if you fill out this referral form and you send us some referrals, you get your name in this basket and you get a Yeti cup or whatever it is. We tie it into that motivation there, and then we also leave these pieces of paper on each. At the Alamo, they each have a table that they can eat on, because you can order food at this movie theater. And so it's there, and we mention it, and then we just ask for the business. And we also have partners, though, too, that we talk to. There's probably about a group of 10 people that we actually partner with, and we say we make goals together. We're like, hey, we sent you this much business this year. How much are you going to send us this year? And so it's like, okay, we sent you 20. You're going to send us 5. That's great. We're going to put you down for 5. And so we've been doing that for a while.
So listeners, I'm going to share with you a tip. Sometimes when you ask people, why are you calling me, they'll actually sometimes say, well, I saw you sold the neighbor's house. But you got to make sure you ask again, and maybe in a slightly different way, why they called you, because then you're going to find it wasn't just that they saw the sign, it's that actually the person they sit next to in church was a past client and told you to call. So sometimes when these guys will call you, they won't necessarily tell you what the real source was. And when Justin said he seeks out who his influencers are, for him to know somebody's tried to send him multiple leads, it's not just it's any kind of lead. If they send you any kind of business, whether the business closes or not, you want to reward them and thank them and gold plate them. It doesn't matter if you got paid. If someone's thinking of you as a real estate person, you need to love on that person like crazy. And that's,
we do. The first thing that we do when somebody sends us, no matter whether they close or we get the lead or not, we send them a gift card to Starbucks, or we've got Starbucks, Target, you name it, we have it. And immediately it's a handwritten note to that person with the gift card and thanking them very much for thinking of us and sending that person to us. And then they get invited to the other things. But immediately, within that week, they're getting a handwritten note, thank you, with a gift card inside of it.
Yeah, that's it. Good. So I love this movie idea, and that's idea's been around forever, and it's such a solid idea. Can you share with us? You said 150 people. I'm sure the podcast listeners are thinking, "Oh my God, he had to spend $1 billion, and this guy's supposed to be all focused on net." Can you tell them how much that cost, and how you got the word out, and just the whole system behind it?
Well, the first time we went nuts, and we just kind of took care of everything, but we've kind of dialed it back some because I mean the cost for us to do it the first time was about $5,000, right? But that was because we were not learned in that that way of doing things. And exactly, yeah. So I went to somebody who was a professional on doing it every year, and I was like, "Hey, what did I do wrong?" And they're like shaking their head. They're like, "Let me tell you." And so anyway, we knocked it back a lot. And one of the things we didn't do first was, if you're doing a certain amount of volume, or even if you're not, you have partners in crime with you. You have your lenders. You have title companies who they can't sponsor you, but they can be an advertiser, or they can buy some seats, or there's clever ways to get around different things like that. Insurance people, flooring,
Hold on. No, not get around. He didn't. There's ways to get other people to participate so they could also enjoy the benefits of spoiling those same people that were their centers of influence and past clients. We're certainly not advocates of getting around anything that has to do with RESPA. Certainly not.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes. We're not getting around anything. You're right. We're doing it the right way. Yeah.
Doing it the right way. Exactly. So the right way, by the way, listeners, is that the advertiser pays the movie theater directly. The money does not flow through you as the agent. It goes directly to the movie theater.
At all. Yeah. Right. She shows up to the thing, and she says, "Thank you very much," and she talks about title. She talks about thanking the people that closed with her, and she also talks about refis and everything else. And then at the end, she walks up to the lady who's in charge of everything, and she runs her card. And we don't put them as a sponsor. They are advertisers because that's what they're doing.
Yep.
So
okay, that was important that we got that down.
Yeah.
But you're not
buying
what
them
we do now
is we.
Right.
No.
You're not buying them concessions.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Right.
So what
not
we do
anymore.
Now, so we went from $5,000. I think this last time that we came in with sponsors, our out-of-pocket was about $1,000 for a $6,000 event. And how that happened was when we came in, we bought the seats, we rented the movie theater out, but people paid for their own tabs, and then our sponsors advertisers contributed to the bottom line as well. And so we just got a good group of people together that have been servicing our sphere of influence and really appreciative of, whatever referrals they got, whether it was from insurance to, handyman services, whatever it is. The people who we got to partner with us were thankful for our reciprocation of using them as part of our team, with our clients. And so they're very happy to do it. I never would like one of the things I said when we first started it, if we were going to get people to come advertise or sponsor the event, was I was never going to beat down on somebody where I didn't actually provide benefit to them. And so it's a lot easier when you're actually using these people and they're seeing, the reciprocity of the relationship coming around, where you're not just asking them for money and not giving them any benefits to service your clients. So that I would say that's a key as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. So now, little hacks to this, guys. Definitely get advertisers to help pay for it. Don't buy concessions; they'll buy their own concessions. And the actual hard cost of renting out a movie theater is, because this is happening on like the lowest, Saturday afternoon when virtually nobody else is there. The movie theater wouldn't have anybody in it in the first place. It's not expensive. What, less than $2,000? I'm guessing.
Exactly. Yeah. And you think about that, and every year we get great referrals from it. People are. Sure. It's interesting how you're. When people come together like that, and you're talking about just the energy, and people are writing down things, and somebody the competitiveness of it too is like, oh yeah, no, I forgot. So and so just told me the other day that they were going to think about selling their house, and the conversations that people start having when they're with a group of people who want to help you succeed, and the things that, they're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot my cousin is moving here in 3 months. They needed a realtor. I forgot to tell you about that. So it's kind of cool to see that magic happen.
So let's talk about, I noticed that you switched brokerages. You were with Keller Williams for 8 years, almost a decade. And at Keller Williams, you kind of rose through the ranks of you had all the fancy titles, and you were deeply behind the red curtain. You weren't just drinking the Kool-Aid; you were actually back there mixing it, right? I mean, am I overstating it?
Yeah, it was. I was mixing it and pouring it and adding the right amount of sugar, all of that. Yeah.
Okay, well, and so we won't go. The Kool-Aid thing obviously ends in the Jim Jones analogy, but we'll stop while we're ahead. So as far as that goes, why did you go to EXP? You left Keller Williams and you went to EXP. And you're in the heart of Austin, Texas, in Keller Williams land. How did you possibly think to do that? You heretic!
Oh, this one's a great one. You're gonna love this story. So, do you want the truth or you want me to sugarcoat it?
No, we want the lie.
You want the lie? Okay. Good.
No, go ahead.
So, So when my wife and I first started teaming up together, we had a coach at the Northwest Market Center for a little while. His name was Gene Frederick, and he was also the team leader at the time. And this is a funny story because Gene was mad at me for years because Carly was a great agent and she was producing, and he kind of took her under her wing, and then I came in and messed everything up because we went from the Northwest Market Center down to the Southwest. So every time, I would see Gene at an event or like a bold thing, he'd like nudge me a little. He's like, "You took my best agent from me, man. You owe me. You owe me." And so that was a joke I don't think it was a joke for me. I don't think it was a joke for Gene. So anyways, we went to the Southwest Market Center, and like you said, year over year, our production grew. We became, part of Agent Leadership Council, and I can say this absolutely, that I did love where I was at, and I love the people, I love the culture, I love what I was doing, and honestly, I was never ever going to leave Keller Williams, and when we decided that we were going to leave, we were going to go out on our own, and just be a small brokerage here, and just staying with the theme of net profit for us. But we also didn't see any reason we were seeing the benefits of being connected, and I also looked at expanding. I'm also licensed in the state of Washington. So about 2 years ago, I started looking into doing agent expansion. As far as hiring, I was hiring family up there, not like building a big team, but I brought my sister on, and we were going to, build the family model. And so anyway, backing up, about 4 years ago, I knew that Gene had retired, and then all of a sudden I started hearing these things about how he was selling his regions and his market center. I was like, what the heck is he doing? So I texted him, I was like, Gene, what is going on? And he's like, hey, we gotta meet. I've got to share something with you. I've found it. And I was like, what did you find, Gene? And he was so excited. And so anyway, we ended up meeting at a hotel lobby. This is before he got his famous booth at the corner bakery. But we met in this lobby, and he starts talking to us about how he found Netflix, and and he was so excited, and he was like, I this is what I'm doing, and if anybody knows Gene, he's a writer, so he gets these papers and he just starts going and painting this picture, and honestly, in 2 seconds I was sold. I was like, this guy's energy and where he's going, I'm ready to go right now. Sign me up. Where do I got to sign? And at the time I remember him saying, and we're trading, and you get stock, and I'm still learning these different things, but I'm telling you that I've done the numbers and it's amazing. And so, it's right now it's trading at 3 cents a share. And I was like, holy cow, okay, Gene, you're excited about 3 cents a share. And so we walked away from the meeting, very respectful too. And the thing was, is that, we respected Gene a lot. And that's why we went to him and said, hey, let's meet, let's meet and hear what he has to say and hear it out. But when we left, my wife is a little bit more conservative, and she was, just kind of keeping us on the straight and narrow. She's like, I just don't have enough information to know what's going on here, and how would this affect our net profitability, and what's this about, and what's that about. And, so I trusted it. I've always learned to trust my wife's gut at the time. And so I just kind of stayed back, and I was like, okay, well, whenever you're ready, let's go. And so a couple of years went by, 4 years actually, and we've seen Gene a couple of times. It wasn't 4 months, it wasn't 4 days, it was 4 years.
Oh, a little while.
And I was keeping tabs, with Gene, and we would text every once in a while, and we would meet up, and he would share things with me. So this is where it gets really good. I was looking for a little bit of a change. About 2 years ago, I really liked teaching and training and doing some different things, and so I started drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit myself, or trying to figure out, maybe just a little bit of a change. And so I started interviewing for the team leader position at the Southwest Market Center. A lot of people, honestly, well, I don't know how many people are listening now, but it's out there. So started interviewing for the position and interviewed for it for 6 months. Long story short, I was offered that position in December of 2017. And I came back home and, I was told, this is an amazing opportunity for you. You're at the Mecca. You're at Southwest #1. You're, yada, yada, yada. And I believed all of it, and I was. And it was a great opportunity for me to do something that I felt like I wanted to do at the time. And so I came back home and I talked to my wife and I said, look, I got the position. I could start in January. I was like, but for some reason, with that whole saying yes to something and saying no to something else, I wrote down all of these things. And when I was writing it down, on one of my no list was EXP. And so I went back to my wife and I said, we should really talk to Gene one more time. And she went nuts. She was like, why? I don't want to talk about EXP anymore. I don't want to see this. I don't want to do that. Just, let's not. If you know my wife, you know her personality. She's a redhead. She's very energetic, and she's very to the point. And she's like, I don't want to do it. And I was like, just do this for me. Just let's go meet with Gene one more time. And so we went and met with Gene and another lady, her name's Elizabeth Riley, and we got all the questions answered. And, and at the time, I think I was like, hey, Gene, how's that stock going? And I was like, it was like 3 cents before, right? And he goes, oh, yeah. And he gets his phone out and he takes it out and pulls it up, and it was like $18.50 a share. And I was like, I started sweating a little. And so anyway, and then my brain started going, because I knew what they were, like at that time when it was your certain amount of agents in the company, what they were giving you for your first transaction and yada, yada, yada. So I was like, oh my God. We got the numbers and we went back home and started talking, and I said, you know what, I think that not just with the agent attraction piece of EXP, but I can no longer, because of the volume that we do and the percentages and the stock, I am, like what you talked about earlier, I'm in that part of my life where I'm thinking about my future. I'm thinking about retirement. I'm looking at people who've been in this business for a long time, and to be honest with you, even smaller husband and wife teams or small teams, when you're working, a lot of, yes, we're making good money, but the retirement of aspects of it just aren't in the horizon. We don't think about that a lot.
Level off there, though. But level off right there. First of all, you don't sound that old. Second of all, that's really a good point.
I'm about to be 45.
Okay. Well, you sound like you're 35. Yeah. So the
I like you already.
Here's the key. Is that, listen to what he just said. He waited too long. I mean, all due respect, sir. He waited too long. Now that I know you're 40. Now that I know you're 45, I'll call you sir. Okay. And second of all, had he moved earlier, he would have actually done quite well off the stock. But here's really the interesting thing that I find so compelling about EXP as a value proposition to every agent. So, guys, listen to this. How do you make money now as an agent? You make money off your commissions. That's it. That's it. Yep. That's where you make your money. And in most cases, you're paying a ridiculous amount of money to your broker. I know he's going to listen, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to embarrass him. But the best example or the worst example of the highest, I have a coaching client who came to me in the last 6 months, and he was paying his broker every year about $325,000. And he'd done the math, but he didn't really think about it. And, Justin, get this, his average commission is $6,000. So he has to do 60 deals a year just to pay his broker. That's insane. But anyway, so let's just focus on the cap. The cap at EXP is $16,000. Now, there's ways you can get the money back through Icon, and I'll talk to you guys about that in a second. But here's how you make money as an EXP agent. Obviously, selling real estate. You make money because they give you stock awards. Oh, Tim, don't talk about stock. I don't want to talk. Fine. But remember, they're giving you the stock, okay? They're going to give you the stock. So if you don't want the stock, you can send it to Justin. But what I'm saying is
exactly.
It's free. So,
I need to make up 4 years of time, so just send it to me, please.
Exactly. And they let you buy stock from your real estate sales at a discount. There's that. We could argue that's another way of making money. But then they have this thing where they give you revenue share. So with EXP, not only is it essentially was there anything at your previous brokerage technology-wise that was better than EXP? If we're just putting it out there, no. Okay.
No. So, and to this day, they're still not with all the new stuff because I know about it. I was part of those betas, and no, it's not even. It's not. I can tell you now, it's.
Right.
Anyway.
So guys, listen. The fact is that EXP's technology and their value proposition to individual agents is good, if not better than wherever you are now. That's almost certainly a fact. Number two, you're paying probably on average 2 to 3 times more to your broker than you would be at EXP. There's another fact. Do your own math on that because a lot of you don't even know. Number three, it's perfect for agents at every point in their careers, whether they're brand new agents that got kick-ass new agent mentoring program, or whether you're a seasoned agent where you don't need mentoring, but you just need to figure out how to basically take your profitability to the next level. EXP is perfect for that. You have the stock awards program. You can buy stock at a discount. In other words, you're an actual owner of the company. And I have the revenue share program. And I know you and I know a lot of the same people, but you can make so much money from the revenue share program. I was Facebook texting with someone who I've known forever, and he goes, Jim, all the EXP agents do is talk about the revenue share and how much money they're making off sponsoring other agents. I'm like, so? I mean, what's your point? I mean, they're excited about the company they're working for, and they want to bring their friends in. And if there's a financial benefit, does that automatically make it a bad thing? Of course it doesn't. I mean, so the reality of it is that the old conversation was, what are you paying your broker? The new conversation is, what is your broker paying you?
What's your broker paying you? Exactly.
Right. Exactly, and EXP is the only company that has that. So listen, guys, we've got something that's super simple for you to do. If you want to watch a quick 7-minute video and sign up for a call with an agent attraction coach that will answer all your questions. The video is free, so literally all you've got to do is text the word EXP to 31996, text the word EXP to 31996, and you'll automatically be sent back a quick video that you can watch. You can have the call with the agent attraction coach if you choose to. Otherwise, the video is there for you to watch, so just text the word EXP to 31996. So is there any downside to being at EXP? It's virtual. There's no office. Oh, I heard that, that's a problem. There's no coffee cooler for people to stand around and gossip anymore. But, I mean, is that a problem, not having physical locations being virtual?
No, it's not at all. And I want to say this because I'm trying to correct this as well. Our corporate office does not have brick and mortar. But if you want to have brick and mortar, if that's what you want to do, you can do it all day long, specifically just for you and your team or whatever. And that's I've started to have those conversations with people. I'm like, look, our corporate office is virtual, which is so much of a benefit for you. How amazing is it, because I was part of an expansion model for a little while. I had to deal with 2 different accounting people and not knowing what their rules were, what they were doing. I literally walk into the world and go into one transaction office, and I love because I can just pull my ticket and sit there and wait for somebody, and I know that I'm dealing with my region and what's going on. And even if you're helping somebody else in another region, it's those same specific people, and it's all virtual right there. You don't have to be in some other state or country to figure all those things out with yourself and other people. This is so easy and so amazing. And one of the things I wanted to add to that has been a benefit to us is the sharing and the referral business. When you go into the EXP world, into the virtual office, and you meet these people from all over the country, how easy it is to share your information with them and tell them about who you are and where you're at, and you would love the referrals and you would love to start a referral business with them. It has been tremendous for us, and I could never do that unless I was at a conference, physically at a conference once or twice a year to network with other agents. I could try to go search for them on Facebook, but that was difficult. But literally, I could go into the world every single day and sit into a class, look at somebody next to me, see what their name is, go on to Workplace, friend them there, send them a little message, and now I've connected with 10 people in one day. it's been amazing for us as far as growing our referral business throughout the country. So.
It's also, the referral thing is something that agents aren't taking advantage of. But I'll tell you things that's also interesting is you can go to Workplace, Facebook Workplace, EXP's Facebook Workplace, and you can actually have a direct chat with virtually for anyone in the company. I mean, the founder, Glenn, is on Facebook chat. You can just go there and you can send him a message and he'll send you a reply back. Anybody,
I've messaged with Glenn so many. It's amazing. I'll post something and I'll look at like who looked at it and I'm like, oh, Glenn looked at that. That's crazy, It's an awesome tool. And workplaces like Facebook years ago, like most companies are just now finding out about Workplace, and we're inundated in it. I mean, we're one of the biggest models that use it, companies that use it, and people are figuring it out and understanding that it's such a huge connector like Facebook has been, and people didn't understand it years ago when it first came out.
Well, there's no ads. That's the big thing. There's no ads, and it doesn't connect with the public Facebook. But that aside, so podcast listeners, here's really the bottom line. I mean, if you want to build a very profitable business, and I didn't ask this question, it was kind of tacky, but what the hell. So when you make $1, what percent are you keeping? It's because it's really critical that they understand this, the difference between running a smart, profitable practice and running a dumb, make-you-broke practice. How much profit are you guys making before personal expenses and taxes?
I would say we're at, the last time she checked it was like 86%.
Yeah. I want you guys to think about what he just said. He's making 86%. And we didn't talk about this, but he is a capper. He's an icon agent at EXP, which means he paid his cap of $16,000. And Justin, you might know more about this than I do. And then you had to have a total GCI of $500,000 after you capped or sold an additional 22 units. And there's some other caveats. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And then they give you your cap back in the form of EXPI stock. I mean, they give you $14,000, I think, and then you get another $2,000. You go to the shareholders meeting, which happened last month in Orlando. And then you essentially get all your cap back in the form of stock, and then you're 100%. So Justin right now has no commission split. So that's the reason his profit margins are so high. How can EXP afford to do that? Because they're virtual. All the money that would have been going to the offices and the regions and the secretaries and the printers and the coffee makers and the whatever spirit day in the parking lot where we're going to have a barbecue, all the money that was wasted on physical locations, that profit is shared with, that revenue is sent back to the agents in form of revenue share. So the biggest problem with agents, and this is Gene's joke, not mine, but basically they don't pay their taxes and they don't save any money. And as a result of that, when they reach their 40s, 50s, and 60s, they start having these little eye-opening experiences where, oh my gosh, what the hell am I going to do if there's one day where I don't have to sell real estate at this high level anymore? Well, they don't have an option. The old model was to buy a bunch of rental properties, and that's what Julie and I did. And let me tell you guys, that's not necessarily the path to Shangri-La. The revenue share model at EXP, which we didn't even talk about, is extraordinary. Again, that's one of those things that if you guys want to learn more about that, just go ahead and text the word EXP to 31996. Text the word EXP to 31996, and it's explained in that quick 7-minute video. So listen, man, we could go on forever and ever. Actually, this is one of my longest interviews in a long time. I think I enjoyed it. I did. You're great.
Does that mean I talk too much? No.
No, I'm sure I did, though. But podcast listeners are used to it.
Yeah, it's all good.
Anything you'd like to say?
It was awesome.
Anything you'd like to say to the listeners?
I would just say if you're here and you're thinking about it, you're on the fence, don't be a Justin. Don't wait and see. If you have that gut feeling, move now, because it's what I keep trying to what I'm fighting against right now too is everybody keeps saying it's too late. I should have got in. No, it's not. This honestly, and I'm not just saying this, we haven't even scratched the surface. Your potential coming to this company for yourself, I'm not trying to sell you on anything. You coming to this company and being able to be set up like we are now, where, like you were saying earlier, we got our when I go on and I log in and I see that $16,000 in stock sitting there, I wouldn't have had an opportunity to do that in another company. I just haven't found one yet. And then the other things that they give you for, doing your first transaction, capping your transaction. I mean, we've only been there for 18 months and we made Icon and everything else, but we're looking at like $25,000 in stock, and that was given to us. with all, with the people that we've attracted and them doing their French transaction, if you add it all up, I'm sorry, it's 22,000. I apologize. But still, I've only been here 18 months. I would not have been able to do that at my previous company in 18 months. I just wouldn't have been able to do it.
And you didn't. So, and your product. The other jab that people like to say is when people go to EXP, their production slows down because they focus on recruiting agents. The exact opposite is true. Because
absolutely
the way
not. Yeah.
You're motivated to sell more houses because of the fact that you're keeping more of your profit. You're
exactly.
paying less to the broker and you make more money for selling more houses. Of course you're going to be more motivated to sell more houses. That jab is ridiculous. Well, we didn't even let's just touch on revenue share. I'm going to give an example, and I give this example a lot. I know somebody, you know her too. Her name's Nicole. She's up in Dallas. She's been at EXP for, I think, 2.5 years. She's only really sponsored less than 20 agents. And I know because she sent me a shot of it, her revenue share last month was a little less than $20,000. I'm not going to say her last name. Yeah. And she's only personally in that amount of time brought on maybe like 17 or 18 agents. So the revenue share thing is real. And the amount of money you can make from the stock is real. The amount of profit you can increase your business to from the real estate side is real. There's nothing like it in the marketplace. There's nothing like it I've seen in almost 3 decades. This is the biggest no-brainer. And here, listeners, just think about this. Let's say you go to EXP and you go, oh, my gosh, I made a huge mistake. So what? You can go back. You can go to wherever broker you want to. It's not like you're signing up for the military for 18 years. You get what I'm saying, listeners? Yeah. This is a risk worth taking because there's virtually no risk to you. I don't see any downside. So if you're interested in it, guys, text the word EXP to 31996. Hey, man, I really appreciate it. I've really thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you. It's so unbelievably refreshing for me to talk to people that are willing to tell the truth about their numbers. They're willing to tell the truth about the big team lie, which is what we call it. And, you didn't waste time talking about branding or a fancy website or your logo. You're focused on servicing your clients, being of service to other people, and making a lot of profit. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, and I'm sorry we haven't met prior to today's podcast, honestly.
No, it's all good. I enjoyed talking to you, too. I loved a lot of the stuff you said. It made so much sense. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you having me on.
Hold on. You loved a lot of it, not all of it? Oh, bad. I'm kidding. All right, podcast listeners, thank you. Hey, Justin, hold on the line.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows, and until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.